Hey everybody, in this video, I'll be educating you on how to ethically make a backdoor into a virtual machine, which makes this act not illegal. Never condone any of these activities on a operating system you do not own or you do not have permission to test on. Again, I'll be testing on a virtual machine, which makes this legal because it is mine. Just a disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes only, and I do not condone or encourage any illegal activity, and I am not responsible for how the viewer can misuse or abuse this information. Now, before we start, I'll explain what a backdoor is, and throughout this whole video, I will walk you through steps and explain every single one to make sure you understand to the fullest extent I possibly can. Okay, first, I will explain what a backdoor is. Pretty much, a backdoor in cybersecurity is a hidden way into a system that skips the normal login or security checks. So I think of it as like a secret entrance for exploiters. Um, Basically, it can let an attacker bypass authentication. It often stays hidden, so it's harder to notice than a normal intrusion. Once inside, an attacker may steal data, install malware, or keep persistent access. So a backdoor is just like a second way into the PC, but in a hidden way. Okay, the second thing I'm going to be covering is ports, which I'll probably make a separate video on later, but is basically what we're going to be finding, and it is basically a vulnerability. So think of it like how a lot of people explain it is the computer or operating system is the house, and ports are just windows and doors into the house. So if you find windows and doors in the house, obviously you can go inside of it. And then basically a port, you can just exploit to get inside the operating system. That is pretty much what a port is. And there's ways to communicate with each other. So yeah. But anyway, we're gonna get on with the video now. And I'm gonna teach you how to set it up. Make sure you get the right setup before we start so you can do it with me and you can follow along. And yeah. Okay, the first thing you're gonna need is Oracle VirtualBox. Using Virtual Machine works too, but I just use VirtualBox personally. I'm just gonna go download it. I'm saying, just pick it and then continue with the setup. And then the second thing you're gonna need is what I'm gonna use is Kali Linux. So you're just gonna go to the Kali Linux website. You're gonna where is it? You're gonna press download, and then what you're gonna do is press install images. So it's like an ISO file, which is how you set it up. You're gonna get the installer, and then you're gonna set up your Kali Linux inside of Oracle VirtualBox, which I have set up. But basically, the settings you're going to need, you're gonna need to make sure on network. It's the only thing that matters. Is make sure you have a host-only adapter. So the two virtual machines are only communicating with each other and not the internet, basically. So make sure you have that. And just to be safe, make sure your tools network, host-only networks, and make sure you have DHCP server on and it will work. Next thing you're gonna need is Metasploitable. So what you can do to get that, forge.net, and what you're gonna do is go to files and download the latest version. Make sure you set the ISO file correctly. And I'll leave all these links down in the description so you don't have to go looking for them because it'll just make it easier for you. First, you're gonna open Metasploitable just so you can get the IP running. And I'm gonna show you how to find it. Um, just let it boot, starting up. And for every Metasploitable operating system, the user and password will always be MSF admin, as they'll say in a second here. So you can see logging with MSF admin, admin. So we're gonna do that. Okay. Now to find your IP address, we're going to type ifconfig, enter. That's going to be your inet address, um, and eth0, so Ethernet 0. And once you have that, you can just clear it. Remember the IP address. Now, you're going to open your second machine, Kali Linux, obviously. You're going to power that up. Make sure you have a different password for Kali Linux because normally people just keep it as Kali. Everybody knows that now, so make sure you change your Kali Linux password. The username doesn't really matter. You can change it if you want. I did, but it doesn't really matter. Let it boot. All right, I'm just gonna log in. Okay, once you are logged in, first thing you're gonna do, open your CMD, and you're gonna need two of them. So make sure you have them side by side, just so it makes it like easier. Um, That'll just make your life a lot easier, in my opinion. So side by side. Oh yeah, the first one we're gonna do is we're gonna be pulling up Metasploit. And Metasploit is just basically a way to inject exploits into the PC, and it just has a whole bunch. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna type MSF console, and you're just gonna let that load. It's already like installed because this Kali Linux is pre-installed with a bunch of just exploits in that. We're just gonna clear that. Okay, we're just gonna put that to the side. We don't need it right now. What we're gonna do now is we are going to be running a mmap scan on the virtual machine Metasploitable. So this is so we can see the ports that are in that are open or closed on the system. So we're gonna do -SC, which means like scan the ports. I'm gonna do top ports 20, which means we're only gonna scan like the most popular ports pretty much, and you're gonna scan 20 of them. You can make it a higher number if you want. I don't really care. And then you're gonna type your Metasploitable's IP. Then you're gonna press enter. You're gonna let it scan. Um, just let that scan really quick. Okay, it's done. So as you can see, it scans many ports, obviously the most used. So now we can see um, the states of ports and like if they're open or not, pretty much. So it might look like kind of weird and hard to read, but it's actually like a lot easier than you think. But today we're gonna be looking at port 21, which is FTP. Uh, so as you can see, it is VSFTPT 234, which is what we're looking for actually. So how are we gonna exploit that? We're gonna use Metasploit, and I'll show you how in a second. But if you really want to, you can do mmap script vuln, and then you can type IP. Basically, what this does, it checks like what ports are like vulnerable to this and that. It's like what scripts basically. I already checked. If you want, you can run this. It's just like double checking that it's like vulnerable or not. So I'm not gonna do it because it takes a while. But what we're focusing on is VSFTPD 234. Okay. So what we're gonna do? We don't really need this anymore actually. So actually, you can just keep it up just in case, so you can remember this. So what you can do is copy this, and then now we're gonna do search and copy and paste that basically. As you can see, there's an exploit backdoor command execution. So what you're gonna do Just gonna type use 0 because that is its number pretty much. And now you're using this exploit. So what we need to do next is define the target. So what we do is set our host, and it's gonna be their IP obviously. Now we're gonna set where it needs to talk back to, so us. So we need to do set low host 192. Okay, so then you gotta put your IP. So if you don't know how to do that, you can just do IPA, a separate one. That's gonna be iNet Ethernet 0 again. That's gonna be your IP for your Kali machine. Okay, next, we need to check if it is vulnerable. That's why you could have just did it in Nmap, but you can also do it in here. So we're gonna check. As you can see, the target appears to be vulnerable. Bear detected. Backward may be present. So all we need to do now is type exploit. And it's going to start the server. And it's going to start exploiting. As you can see, it worked. Backdoor has been spawned. Okay, meter preader, that means we're in their PC right now. So that is like really nice and cool. And of course, it's for educational purposes only. Anyway, what we need to do now is we need to step back. So press Control Z and then Y. Oh yeah. Now what we need to do is search shell to meter reader. Make sure this is like yeah. Enter. And then basically what we're doing is we are enhancing our connection with the PC and we're just upgrading. So we don't like drop our connection anytime. So do Z0 and then do set session 1 and then run. Now it's gonna update it. I'm saying let that do its thing. So we're just enhancing our connection with their PC. So our connection doesn't drop at any time, hopefully. As you can see, it's done. Session 2 opened. Just press enter. And now we need to do is type sessions to see all of your sessions. As you can see, there's a new one because we made a new one with our new, thing. So typically it's gonna be session 2. So just do sessions at 2. And now you're in. And then make sure see that just proof that you have permissions on the PC. You can do get UID. As you can see, it says root, and we are basically the boss of the PC right now. If you do ls, you can see all the files. Obviously, it's metasploitable, so they don't have. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Next time, I can teach you how to do this on a Microsoft virtual machine, and of course, educational purposes only. I'm not responsible for how you misuse or abuse this info. This was all done on a virtual machine, my virtual machine, which makes it okay. But that's basically it. You can do pretty much whatever you want from here. Um, but yeah, so if you want to close your sessions, you just type exit, shutting down session 1, and then switch to session 1 because you still have it, and then exit again. Now if you type sessions, there's no active ones. Clear and then back, which gets you out of the exploit. And now you're back in the console. And to get out of the console, you just type exit. Get back to your normal console. And it's the same for this, just clear and then exit. And that's pretty much it. Um, I tried to explain the best I could. Obviously, this is very dangerous if you use it in the wrong way. But you can get caught doing this. It's completely illegal on a system you do not own or do not have permission to test on. But that's pretty much it. If you have any ideas or questions in the comments, let me know. And yeah, goodbye.